When driving through the road, after waiting at the red signal, we see most of the vehicles going straight up the road. We don't blindly follow them, and even if we are the only ones to take the turn, we take it because we know what we want to do and where we want to go. Watch collection should be similar, where we pick and enjoy what we desire and not necessarily what everyone else likes. Please do consider supporting me by liking this video and subscribing to the channel if my videos contribute in your watch collecting life by any means. 70s was probably the most significant time in the high-end watchmaking when the concept of luxury steel watches was introduced by Audemars Piguet in the form of first integrated bracelet watch called Royal Oak. As much as the Piaget Polo may seem like a new entry and a recent watch in the market to you, its origin actually dates back to 1979 when Piaget featured the first polo watch with integrated bracelet. The Polo S was a complete overhaul and a redesign of the original model. Launched in 2016, it was not only changed in its looks, but where the original Polo design was a watch with integrated bracelet, this latest model is technically not an integrated bracelet watch anymore. Piaget Polo S is one of those watches which, despite many reasons to be under the limelight, get the least attention and love. And the reason for this is most likely the design clues that this new reference has taken from Patek Philippe Nautilus. The first thing you find on Polo S is the number of resembling elements with Nautilus, including the bezel, the case shape, and even the horizontal embossing in the dial. And let's be honest, copying ideas and design clues happen in watches more often than you would think. In fact, if copying the idea never happened, the only integrated bracelet watch on the market today would be Royal Oak. So let's admit that Nautilus itself took the idea and inspiration from Royal Oak. But of course, the product was then redesigned and re-engineered to produce something that can compete and stand head to head. In case of Polo S, the idea is copied, agreed, and to some extent redesigned too. But Piaget have not improvised it well enough to separate this line from already the most iconic face of the industry, the Nautilus, and hence the Polo S failed to make its own identity. At the current market price, I likely wouldn't still mind it if Piaget offers the same level of quality as Nautilus too. So let's dive into it and see what Polo S has to offer. The first thing you notice on the bezel is that despite the brushed top surface, the brushed lines here are horizontal as opposed to vertical lines on Nautilus. You would think that this was Piaget's attempt to change the design and make it look different from Nautilus. But the reason behind this is a little more interesting. The original Piaget Polo in 1979 came out with horizontal stripes in the integrated bracelet watch design. So while the Polo S does not retain the original design and horizontal stripes, the horizontal brushing on the bezel is reminiscent of horizontal stripes in the original design, and hence the watch, although completely different in design, maintains its link with the original watch. In the same way, the horizontal embossing on the dial, although looks to be wannabe Nautilus, yet the idea was again to retain the link with the original horizontal stripes. The original design also had the horizontal stripes in the bracelet, and then the Polo S then further comes with the same horizontal brush lines even in the center links of the bracelet. To implement the same, Piaget decided to polish the side links of the bracelet to maintain a contrast with the center links that have horizontal brushing. This is an interesting bracelet design because normally you would see brushed side links and polished center links in the watches. Now you can imagine that horizontally brushing the center links individually would be much more time consuming and harder job to do than running the whole bracelet on vertical brushes. So let's appreciate that Piaget have taken their time and effort to decorate the watch. The bezel comes with polished bevels which complement perfectly the top surfaces of the lugs that are also mirror polished, and then add a contrast to the sides of the case that are beautifully brushed. The machining, brushing and polishing on the case and the bezel maintain the standards you would expect from Swiss luxury watch. and you do feel that the product is made with love. And then you start to look at the dial components and you truly realize that the attention to detail exists in practically everything in the sight. The Avo markers come with 5 facets and rounded edges for the loom material, and even under close macro, they ooze out perfection. The surface on Avo markers are mirror polished, and while looking at your wrist, you do experience the way they play with the light just beautifully. The painting for minutes is absolutely immaculate, and there's no flaw to point whatsoever. The dial hands are beautifully finished, and even though you can see some minor dust, but at this macro level, you will always see some dust given that these watches are made by humans and by hands. And at such macro level, the dust shows to remind us that there is absolutely nothing in this universe that is perfect. The undersides of the hands are not polished, but again, they are not polished even in Patek or AP, so nothing to complain. And then you start to look at the dial and it's absolutely gorgeous. Horizontal embossing is one design aspect, but when you see things up close, it's the sunburst treatment of the dial that makes the watch do the marvels and play with the light that simply glorifies the experience. The text is sharp and crisp, and the white font on sunburst and embossed blue dial works just beautifully. The date position at 6 o'clock helps with maintaining the dial symmetry and balance. And even though date wheel is big enough, yet there is a small hour marker with luminescent material at 6 o'clock position. Speaking of the loom, the watch comes with beautiful loom, which is also very bright and functional. The loom is perfectly symmetrical and balanced and complements the overall aesthetics of the watch even in the dark. The watch comes with in-house Piaget caliber 1110P, which is a 3-hander movement with date window at 6 o'clock. The movement offers 50 hours of power reserve and operates at 28,800 vibrations in an hour. The movement is good looking, but it's not the most beautiful one I have seen. But for this price point, I do think it is one of the prettiest ones. The movement comes with Coach Geneva stripes, and although it lacks the contrast and all the bells and whistles to fascinate you, the attention to detail gone into every component is impressive. You can easily see here the craftsmanship on display with balanced jewel and shock-resistant spring, and then the balance spring enhances the experience with 4 Hz vibrations. Looking closely at the center seconds wheel and every gear tooth of it, you can again see quality and workmanship. And then the escape wheel makes no difference here and displays the high-end finish and looks to refine the watch experience. We can even go past this to inspect the case itself, and again it's sharp and fine to align with the overall quality and looks. On my 6.5 inches wrist, the watch sits very close to wrist, thanks to its slimmer case profile of only 9.4mm. The case size is 42mm, so it's a relatively bigger and bolder watch. But one benefit of it not being an integrated bracelet watch is that it contours very well, and at 47mm lug to lug, the bracelet then resultantly tapers straight down to follow your wrist profile, avoiding any possibility of watch lugs flaring out of the wrist. This means that although the watch size is 42mm, yet the watch is easily wearable on smaller wrists. And I personally think that this can be worn easily on wrists as small as 5.5 inches. The bracelet does not taper down on the watch, rather it goes straight down, which does help with maintaining the proportions on this relatively bigger watch, although I personally prefer a little tapering on the bracelet to maintain the design and fluidity. I like the clasp on the watch, which is hidden in its nature, and as such it does not break the continuity of the bracelet, and yet offers a sturdy butterfly clasp. There is no quick extension system or bracelet replacement options on the go, and no quick strap change system. I've seen some photos of Polo S on leather strap and it did look very beautiful. And dare I say, the watch probably looked dressier and even better than on bracelet. So do explore that avenue if you're considering this watch or already have one in your collection. Piaget Polo S, despite being in the price category that's nowhere close to luxury steel watches, easily meets and exceeds the expectations when assessed for quality and craftsmanship. It does offer most of bells and whistles for a high-end, luxurious experience, including exhibition caseback, mirror polish case, and well-defined brushing, distortion-free hour markers, and that gorgeous sunburst style, yet comes at the cost where what you mostly get is a mass-produced steel watch. Yes, it does have resemblance with the Nautilus, but when you link those horizontal lines with its original design of horizontal stripes, you realize that there is more to its design than is perceived. And then when you explore the rest of the industry and start to see that the design inspiration amongst different watch brands is more frequent than you believed, you immediately realize that the water is already muddied enough to look past the design and appreciate the craftsmanship and enjoy the experience.